Think like a programmer. I literally hate this advice so much, and here's why you should too. Not because it's wrong, but because it tells you absolutely nothing. It's like telling someone who's struggling with anxiety to just relax. Cool, super helpful. But how? Here's what nobody tells you. There is literally no such thing called thinking like a programmer. There's only thinking like you. And once you understand that, everything else changes. Seriously, when someone says think like a programmer, I mean, which programmer? Linus, the person who built React, or your friend who's really good at lead code? Here's the thing. You pick two greatest programmers of all time and give them the same problem. There's a higher chance of them arriving at the same solution, but I guarantee you that their thought process and the way of thinking is completely different from one another. One of them might have visualized it like a graph problem, one of them might thought it recursively, different paths with same destination. Because here's the thing that most people don't realize. Thinking is like a fingerprint. Everyone's brain works differently. You process things differently than I do. You miss patterns that I see, I miss patterns that you see. So when you're actually trying to think like a programmer, you're fighting the only positive advantage you have, the way your brain works. So what do they even mean when they say think like a programmer? It's very simple. They are just asking you to be a better problem solver. That's it. That's the whole thing. Problem solving isn't just a magical programming skill. You already do it constantly. You just don't notice it. Let me prove it with the dumbest possible example. Think of this scenario. Right now, I'm thirsty and my water bottle is empty. And that's a problem now. Watch what my brain automatically does. I need water. So I have to get up from my place and grab the water bottle. Or I could grab the water bottle and get up from the place. Does it actually matter which one I pick first? No, because neither of them affects the outcome. The bottle ends up in my hand anyway. And that's a trade-off analysis. My brain just did that in the matter of milliseconds without me even realizing it. But now let's change something. What if my leg is injured? Now suddenly walking to the kitchen isn't an option anymore. The entire solution changes. Instead of me going to the kitchen myself, I need to call somebody else to fetch me water. The entire approach changes to the exact same problem. This is exactly what happens when you are coding. You are solving a problem in one way and then you add a constraint. Maybe the server can handle only 100 requests per second. Maybe the user's internet is slow. Boom, new constraint, different solution is needed. Your brain already does this every single day. When you pick a route to walk based on the traffic, problem solving. When you figure out how to fit everything in your backpack, problem solving. When you realize you can't cook because you ran out of rice and ordering yourself some food, that's literally debugging one solution and finding an alternative. You are already good at this. So if you're solving problems every day, why coding feels different? Why it feels sometimes impossible to do? The difference is very simple. The computers are fast, they can handle million requests every second. They don't get tired, they work 24/7. But here's the catch, they are only good at following instructions. Think about it, a computer can't solve a problem on its own. It can't think, it can only execute the exact instructions you give them. And your job is not to think like a computer, but breaking the problem down into instructions so that they can follow them. And here's what people miss out. Most of programming happens before you even write a single line of code. I've seen developers write thousands of lines of code that they don't understand, copy pasting things from an LLM, not even knowing how it works. That's not programming, that's just typing, right? A real programmer might write just 10 lines of code that solves the problem perfectly. Not because they are smarter, but because they try to understand the problem before they even write the code. They didn't rush to code, they spent their thought through this. Okay, so if thinking like a programmer is a bad advice, then what actually helps? Here's what I have learned building stuff and getting stuck over 100 times. Step 1. Understand the problem. Really understand it. Can you explain it to someone who never coded? If not, you don't understand the problem well enough. I mean it. If you can't break down the problem, you cannot solve it. Step 2. Plan the solution. Don't write the code yet. This is where most people mess. They jump straight into coding. But planning is very different from coding. You are just mapping out things. So if I have this X, what do I have to do to get this X to a Y? Write it out on a paper, draw it down, do whatever works for you. But just don't start coding until you have a plan with you. Step 3. Break it into pieces so small you can actually solve them. Also understand this, there is no formula for this. Your brain will break it down differently than mine. And that is completely fine. The goal is to make the problem look very small where you can actually say, okay, this seems solvable by me. Now step 4. Get stuck and stay stuck for a bit. I know this sounds weird, but seriously, when you hit a wall, sit with it. Google the problem, search it in the Stack Overflow, read the documentation, try to debug it yourself. There is this quote I love so much. Debugging is figuring out what you actually told your program to do, not what you thought you told it to do. The computers are really good at following instructions, which means if something goes wrong, it's probably because you gave the instructions wrong, not because it misunderstood you. I once spent 3 hours debugging my API which wasn't working at all. Turns out I had a typo in the API endpoint URL. Just 2 letters, that's it. But in those 3 hours, I learned a lot about HTTP requests that I would never learn if I just sat and watched tutorials. Now, step 5. Look at the problem from a very different angle. Take a step back and view it differently. Does this seem similar? Have I seen this kind of a pattern somewhere else? Is there anything like this that I've seen before? And when you do so, you have to understand this more deeper. You can only look back at your own experiences. You simply cannot access anyone else's brain. So just stick with your own experiences and try to figure out a pattern out of this. That's it. That's the framework. It's not magic. It's not a shortcut. It's just a way to organize how you approach the problems. Now, here's the truth. You could follow every single step I gave you. You could get used to it. You could be really good at it. And you would still lose the skill if you are not practicing it enough. I know that's not what you wanted to hear. You're probably here for the hack, the trick that makes you amazing overnight. It just doesn't exist. The only thing that actually works is this. Pick a problem you care about and solve it in a way that you think makes sense for you. Don't copy paste code that you don't understand. Don't follow tutorials blindly. Don't try to code exactly like someone else. Because the goal here is to not to become next Linus or Mark Zuckerberg. The goal is to be a better problem solver today than you were yesterday. That's it. There is no test that proves you a great programmer. There is no certificate. There is no metric that defines you a great programmer. Someone might build an app that is used by millions. Someone just sits in the corner and writes beautiful code. The reality is both can be incredible programmers. But here's the most interesting part. If you spend all of your time thinking like somebody else, pretending to be someone who you are not, you are missing out the whole point. Your brain processes things differently than anyone else. Your own experiences are unique. Your way of breaking problems down is just yours. Remember the water bottle problem? You might solve it in a very different way that no one could ever think of. That is the whole point. Be yourself. Be a better problem solver. Don't pretend to be someone else. Don't try to be an ideal programmer, but just make yourself the better programmer. So the real question isn't, how do I think like a programmer? The question is, how do I think better with the brain that I already have? Because that's all you have got. And honestly, that is the only advantage you'll ever need. If this clicked for you, drop a comment and let me know what actually works for you when you solve problems.